Yeah, friend right there.
Today I'll be going through a bunch of random nostalgia topics that I've held off on covering, whether there's not much to say about them or they're so dang obscure that hardly anyone recognizes them anymore. I wouldn't be talking about these if they weren't interesting, though. On that note, let's get started with something that I bet you haven't heard of in many years. Burger King's Honbatz. I was reminded of these guys several years ago after finding an old magazine with this one print ad in it. I researched the characters and learned some interesting stuff about their production. The Honbatz were used to promote Burger King to kids between the years of 2004 and 2006. This consisted of various print media inside the restaurant, to those strange commercials that aired on TV. Each of the characters had a personality of their own, demonstrated exclusively through their hunger for Burger King food. In my research, I came across Frank Summers. He was a freelance animator for Curious Pictures at the time, who happened to work on the Honbatz commercials. I asked him a couple questions. Here's what he told me. The Honbatz animations were made in Adobe Flash. Frank still has some of the original project files, although considering the work was split between 3 different animators, he might not have complete scenes. Not a big deal though, since all the commercials have been archived. Although according to him, after the campaign ended, there was a commercial still in the works which was never finished. Frank believes that at this point, Burger King wasn't interested in the Honbatz anymore, and thus the commercial never saw the light of day. One thing Frank heard while working on the commercial is that the agency was hoping to push the Honbatz beyond Burger King's marketing. In Frank's words, they wanted them to be a series of some sort. However, Burger King isn't interested in producing animated shorts or TV shows. It's possible that soured the relationship and why it ended so abruptly. Frank also noted that shortly after the Honbatz, Burger King started to roll out the infamous King mascot, which was more in line with what Burger King was going for at that time. Big shout out to Frank Summers for this information. Sorry it took nearly 3 years for me to get to this. You can check out Frank's channel on YouTube where he posts some reels of his work. Link in the description. You know Mattel, Hot Wheels, Barbie, Smax. Wait, what was that last one? Okay, so nobody seems to remember Smax whatsoever, but I've always been drawn to weird, obscure things like this, and I wanted to share my experience here. These figures were designed to be a funky way of playing rock, paper, scissors. You can pop the heads off each figure to reveal one of 3 colors underneath. So the system goes, green beats orange beats purple. I've played the game with some friends over the years, and it's fun enough, I guess. I remember when I was little, a single figure would sell for little more than a Hot Wheels. You could get enough figures for a full game without spending too much. There were some exclusive 3-part sets that you could buy, and I believe these guaranteed one of each color. The packaging implies their run of 24 figures was only the first set, with more sets to come in the future. However, the series ended here. They probably didn't sell very well. I've got 2 interesting facts about these things. First, there's an ultra-rare green variant of the Frybaby figure. I found one after years of searching for it online, which actually completed my set. The thing is, this isn't documented anywhere, so I'm guessing maybe they did a color swap after the first print or something? Second fun fact, each figure has a weird hexagonal hole underneath each foot. There were no accessories released for these things, so one can only wonder what they'd be used for. Eventually, I did a Halloween special on my channel, where a bunch of my friends were possessed by these toys. It was a good time. I've recently re-uploaded it to my archives channel, so check that out if you want. I have much less to say about these, but remember Tengamo by Spin Master? Little quad magnetic toys you could put on your fridge, and I recall there was some kind of game you could play with them. Okay, according to this website there was, but I don't have the means of demonstrating it. I'm shocked that these things are so unknown these days. I mean, after all, they had a fair bit of marketing behind them. There were even sets created for Marvel Heroes and TMNT, which as I'm sure you know are very popular properties. Do you remember these? I have something even more obscure here, which actually turned out to be lost media when I revealed it on Twitter a while ago. This is a flip flapper, specifically one made for promoting the SpongeBob movie back in 2004. These were made for a variety of different promotions. A lot of people seem to remember them when they're brought up, but nobody I've talked to knows much about them. Sadly, I don't either. It's very difficult to find anything about these online. What I do know is, this one came in a pack of Black Diamond cheese strings. Remember Your Favorite Martian? Ray William Johnson's long-dead animated project? Well, it actually returned last year to the surprise of everyone. For years it was said that the project had retired and couldn't come back. It was owned by Disney through Maker Studios. I mean, how are you going to bargain with that? Well, somehow it happened. Now the tables have turned, and Ray finally has 100% ownership of Your Favorite Martian. Since coming out of retirement, they've made 14 music videos, each of which being received positively. That's a nice change. The Revival has a good track record. It started with Orphan Tears 2, a sequel to one of their most popular songs. This, and many other videos that followed it, have references to the original series. One even takes a jab at Maker Studios. Following their first new video came another sequel? I'm guessing there was an internal reason for that? Maybe the studio needed more time? Otherwise, that's a bit of an unusual way to make a comeback. Since then, YFM's been on a roll. They've got funky beats, creative lyrics, and an animated style that's quite similar to the originals. Despite the high level of praise, I have seen a few being less interested in the project. Some believe it's just not the same, and I guess that's true to some extent. I think it depends on how you look at it. Speculation, but to me it's always felt like Your Favorite Martian reflects whatever's going through Ray's mind at the time. The world was a much different place in 2011. My guess is he's changed a lot since then too. Haven't we all?
I just have to write whatever comes from my heart, and my heart, it says motorboat!
To replicate YFM as it was then would probably have it getting into more controversies, and I'm sure he doesn't want that happening again. Seems like he's playing it safe, and frankly, I think it's smart after the somewhat negative impression the band left in the past. Maybe someday he'll feel comfortable enough with it to push some boundaries again, but I'm really not expecting it. To me, what YFM has become is probably the best that it could be in today's age. I hope it continues as such, and I'm very curious to find out what all this Martian multiverse stuff is about. If you're wondering which YFM song is my favorite since the Revival, it's gotta be Eff This Job. You can always tell when Ray's passionate about something, and this one has all that familiar energy to it. If you've seen my Serious Sam feature video, you might remember that in the level Dunes, I showed a mod that aims to replicate the original beta trailers and screenshots for Serious Sam HD. At the time, the mod wasn't public as there was still some work to do, but after several years of on and off development, the HD beta mod is finally complete and public for all to try. I was always fascinated with this build of the game, largely due to my obsession with the enhanced original Xbox port, around the time that HD was being teased. During the beta, Crow Team was using a lot of those Xbox assets as placeholders, though most were modified to look better in the HD environment. These enhanced assets were lost to time until 2015, when Crow Team released their Motherload files. While a lot of this stuff was there, a lot of it also wasn't. Over the years, some modding friends of mine have been working on restoring and remaking some of these assets as closely as possible. I didn't do much here beyond direction, but I will give myself credit for replicating the rocket launcher's view model and animation. Moving just one rocket even slightly messes up the entire thing. It took me weeks to make this thing look right, but that's just one part of the huge puzzle that is this mod. Big shout out to Kingas, Nigmus, and Danny S for their work on this thing. On the surface it might not look like much, but a lot of time and effort went into it. By the way, the mod is for Serious Sam Fusion, and I'll leave a link in the description. That's all I've got for today, so I hope you enjoyed this rather unusual video. I don't expect this one to do particularly well, but that's okay. I'm more interested in what my core audience thinks about it. Did you like this one? Let me know. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to hear more from me in the future, consider subscribing to the channel. See you next time!